Like, what are your thoughts on that, like visibility piece and transparency and communication? Because I think that's a huge like crux of where a lot of this is
Completely
coming
agree.
from.
Yeah, completely agree. And what you're talking about is trust, Brent. That's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're looking at all these things and like, how are they maintaining trust? How are they setting their team that they're keeping up for greater performance, the way these things are playing out? And let me relay a story to you that I think reveals some of the complexity of doing this as a leadership team with a company. When I was sitting in PMC Sierra in the heart of British Columbia, we're outside of Vancouver and Burnaby a number of years ago. This is probably 2005, 2006. We were facing a big problem. Number one, most of our business was in the US, but most of our staff was in Canada. And we had a currency fluctuation challenge where, when the dollar would go up, or, our cost of labor would be affected just because of the currency conversion, where the business was and where the employees were.
Right.
But that aside from the cases, we were in a market where our expenses were growing faster than our revenue was. And so we're like, what are we going to do? Because the market's getting tougher. This is right after the dot-com bubble burst. And, the company had been doing really well. I joined and they weren't doing so great after the dot-com bubble burst. And we're trying to figure out, how can we do this without having to let people go? So the first thing that we did was we said, let's do a full company shutdown during the holidays. Okay. And we found out if we did that, we would save $1 million a day. We're talking about 1,300 employees. And we gave everyone advance notice. And we said, over the holidays, we're going to just close down. Of course, there'll need to be some people in the systems, keeping the systems operating, but no one's going to be expected to do anything for the most part for 10 days. Okay. Sort of like before Christmas through New Year's. And the employees loved it because when they came back, there wasn't a backlog of stuff for them to do. Now, some people were disappointed, saying, I wasn't going to take that time off, the extra time, and I don't appreciate you planning my vacation for me.
Right.
And unfortunately, we didn't give them enough notice. So then we said, come July for Canada Day and US 4th of July, we're going to close for another week and save another $1 million a day. And that just doing that, if you can in your business, saved a ton of money. And we told the employees, we have to do this. Otherwise, we're going to have to consider harder decisions, without saying, lay people off. But yeah, business isn't good. And then we told the development teams and product and engineering, if you can make products that give us more money, we're not going to have to do these cuts,
Right.
And so, create us some. So even despite doing that for a couple of years, we still weren't moving the top line fast enough. So that led us to have to undertake another really hard decision, which was to enter a development center in India. Now, the cost of an employee in India at the time, it's probably around the same, I would guess now, was for a vice president was 50%, and for a frontline person, it was 10%.
Right.
The cost difference, right? So, whoa, you can't ignore that. And so here's where the rub comes in. So we were sitting, I think it was an office in Ottawa, talking to the team of about 75 people and saying, we need your help. You ready for this? To help that team in India succeed. And the team was like, wait a second. If they succeed, we help them succeed, getting us out of a job. Why would we do that?
Yeah.
Right. And so I was with the head of operations, this guy named Colin Harris, who's just a wonderfully, intelligent, great, insightful leader. He's like, guys, then make us product that gives us more revenue so we don't have to do this, But if we don't do that, the whole company's at risk of going down. Do you understand? It's not just you, right? And so for the next year that it took us to build that design center, we had multiple teams and organizations try to take down that India site through, neglecting to give them some important information. So it looked like the India team was failing, and they would say, oh, look, those guys don't know what they're doing. Well, no, actually, you didn't help them because you kept this information away to make it look like. And so we had this, disabling response, which is completely understandable, right? That it felt to many of the North American design centers that India operation was a complete threat. And in some cases it might have been, but if we didn't do that, it was irresponsible for us as leaders. Otherwise the whole organization is at risk, And so I don't know the extent of the thoughtfulness going into many of these organizations, but it's not easy. It's not easy. And it's like you're choosing between two, you know, options that you wish you didn't have to choose from. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to have ramifications. They're going to have a hit to the trust. And I do think your original point in your question is really well taken, which is people want, they may not agree, but if you don't share the why of some of these decisions, I think you're really missing an opportunity. And every time that I've done that, it's like, hey, we have to do this because, the vitality of the company's on the line. And here are the numbers. If you think there's a better way to organize this or other things that you think we should be cutting, please let us know,
Yeah.
because we would like your input on that versus coming down from the mountains with some tablets that they don't understand. How did you come up with that math? And it's harder to do in big companies. The flow of information and the sense of transparency is a bit rougher. And in smaller ones at the time, we were only, maybe 12, 1,300. That wasn't so hard. We had a number of all company meetings and communications and Q&As and town halls to let people get their frustrations expressed.